Welcome to the Childcare Genius Podcast, the world's #1 community for brilliant childcare leaders. Each episode will feature interviews with the brightest minds in the childcare industry to guide you into becoming a smarter business leader. Our hosts have opened 10 schools while raising 5 children. They are certified business coaches, best-selling authors, and have personally helped thousands of childcare owners around the world achieve incredible growth. Let's welcome to the Childcare Genius Podcast, Brian and Carol Dupre.
To episode 12 of the Childcare Genius Podcast.
We're your hosts, Brian and Carol Dupre. This podcast episode is brought to you by Leaf Childcare Insurance.
Give Blake a call at 972-866-4065 and ask for a free quote. And don't forget to tell him Brian and Carol sent you.
We love a Leaf Insurance. So in this episode, we're going to interview Prerna Richards. Prerna is a keynote and international speaker, behavior coach, NAEYC consultant. She's been in the early childhood education field for the last 37 years. She's a registered master level trainer with the Texas Early Childhood Professional Development System, and her educational philosophy is grounded in a play-based approach along with a strong social and emotional foundation. And it's a great interview. She has some great tips on dealing with behavior issues. This week is actually part 2 of a 2-part series dealing with behavior issues of children in your childcare center. And this is an area that we get a lot of emails on. I know you've seen them as much as I have. Plus, we've dealt with it in our own child care centers. So if you're struggling with behavior issues, you need to pay attention for the next 20 minutes or so.
Let's get Prerna on the line.
Hi, Prerna. Welcome to the Childcare Genius Podcast. How are you doing today?
Great. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, such a pleasure. And we're back talking about a very interesting topic this week, and that is behavior issues of children. And maybe even staff have some behavior issues too nowadays. But tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this line of work.
So, my name is Prerna, and I am the CEO founder of Together We Grow. Been in the field of early childhood for 37 years, and Together We Grow provides 3 services: professional development that is brain-based, brain research-based, and brain development-based. And the second thing I do is I'm a behavior coach. I work in one classroom, identifying that one child that nobody knows what to do with, or the entire classroom if it's going haywire and a hot mess, or the entire program. And then I also do it with families. If you have a child at home that you don't know what to do with and you are struggling with that particular child. And the last thing I do is I support programs that are going for NAEYC accreditation through their classroom observations and getting their portfolios ready. How did I get into this field is a very good question. When I first was in India, my background is interior design. So I was supposed to work as an interior designer, and my husband's an architect, and we were supposed to work together, and thank God that didn't happen. So and God had better plans, and 37 years fast forward, here I am, and still loving it, still passionate about it.
Well, it's an important profession, so thank you for what you do.
Thank you for what you do as well. You guys are invested in early childhood, and I think we agree that this is a calling. It's not a paycheck. It's not a job. It's a calling. I think it's a privilege to be on earth, to make the world a better place for children, no matter how we contribute to that and how we support in our little space,
I love that. And because, seeing what's happening in the world today with violence, and I think if we could start early intervention, and some of these kids, give them a chance out there so that, 20 years from now, we have a planet that we could be proud of, because right now it's not good.
Well, I think you touched on something really important, the foundation, right? 90% of the brain is getting wired birth to 5. And I think about these people who shoot others and do these horrendous things, and you're just like, what happened in your early childhood? Why did you turn out like this? And you're right. If we can get them earlier, we can save the path and make life easier for them.
Amen to that.
Right. Yeah, I agree that what they learn in the first 5 years shapes their entire life.
Yep.
So
we become the people, right? We become the people.
right.
That's right.
Child care owners are struggling right now with behavior issues, and it's the number one source of teacher frustration and turnover. Can you give our audience 3 to 5 techniques to help teachers deal with the behavior problems?
Absolutely. So yes, it's on the increase, and I'm going to give you tangible things that you can take back to your program. Number 1 is breathing. Deep breathing. I know it sounds really simple, but just hear me out. Every single school that I start with the coaching, the first thing we change is we become a breathing program. To become a breathing program, you need to take deep breaths with the children and the grown-ups every hour. It's a really easy change to put it as part of your schedule, and then you get into the habit of getting a deep breath. In fact, why don't we do a breathing right now? So I know I've been having a running day, and you've probably been busy, and whoever's listening, let's just pause and just take a deep breath. So children like something tangible. So I like to do like a square breathing with them. So please join me in taking a deep breath. Make sure you fill up your lungs with oxygen. Here we go. And so we need 3 deep breaths. Let's do one more. So that was more than 3 because I had to finish the square.
Okay.
So
I feel better already.
I feel better. See, you feel fresh already. You know, I hear teachers constantly, you're not listening. Come and sit down. I'm waiting for the story to start. Get in line. I'm waiting to transition. I'm waiting for my friends. I'm waiting for my friends. Guess what? They have checked out. They're on a different planet. Bring them back by breathing. Breathing helps to reconnect your brain for listening and learning. The next thing I would say about the breathing is have fun with it. Get creative. Get the kids to give you ideas. How should we breathe today? And every time I breathe, I have 3 different children telling me how to breathe. Breathe like a dog, breathe like a dinosaur, breathe like a Spider-Man. Whatever it is, ask them, show me how. And whatever they show you with your hands, it doesn't matter, the breath is going in. So that's tip number 1. Starting from your infant classroom, if the teacher is breathing, every time you pick up babies to change diapers, give them a feed, take a deep breath and it'll bring the stress down. And in the toddler classroom, they need something tangible. So have a feather or have a ribbon or have a tissue paper and right? Because you can't do that movement unless your lungs are filled with oxygen. And then 2 and beyond, they can give you creative ideas. So that's tip number 1, become a breathing program. Start your staff meetings with breathing. Just make breathing part of your life. Tip number 2, know your triggers. So if there's a behavior that you personally get triggered by, meaning you get overwhelmed, your blood pressure rises, you start yelling, you start losing it, every one of us has triggers that throw us over the edge. And when behaviors are out of control, if the adult is not centered and balanced and calm, we go to the reacting space instead of the responding space. We are downshifting our strategy needs to be downshift our calm, not upload their stress. But when you're triggered, you are uploading the stress and downloading your stress, and it's a spiral. So to break that, find your triggers. And this is homework that I do with teachers that I'm coaching. Write down a list of behaviors that trigger you at school and write down a list of behaviors that trigger you at home. Once you know your triggers, you can have a plan. So for example, because, this may seem like I don't understand what you're saying, I have done this homework, and for me personally, not listening when children don't listen, or adults for that matter, I'm like, oh my God, I'm saying it so many times. Why are you not listening? I can feel myself getting agitated. Feel myself getting frustrated, right? So now I have a plan. At home now, I have grandchildren. So I was homeschooling during COVID, and my granddaughter, there were loving days and there were learning days. And some days I was just like, just listen. Why are you not listening? Right? And so because I know I get triggered, I have now given her the vocabulary of ignoring. And so she was 4 at the time. And this is what we did. I was talking to her and I was feeling ignored. And then I said, okay, I'm going to help her understand. I said, Nalini, I'm feeling ignored right now. And so she said, what is that? So I turned my face around just like this. And she kept talking, Ami, 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 this is happening. And so I turned around and I said, I was ignoring you. And she said, what was that? And I said, well, because, you don't listen when I talk. So I thought I would show you what it feels like. How did it feel? And she says, yucky, I didn't like it. I said, that's right. So moving forward, we don't ignore each other. When I talk, you listen. When you talk, I listen. So giving them a vocabulary and bringing it come to life. And I've done this for many other words, self-control, impulse control, self-regulation. You got to give them the vocabulary, but you got to bring it to life. That's tip number 3. The 2 is know your triggers and have a plan. So now I know that if children are not listening, if adults are not listening, I just have to say, I'm feeling ignored. So when you can label the emotion and what caused it. I'm feeling ignored. I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling irritated because of this. So that's tip number 3. Label the emotion, find out what caused it, and what can you do to help yourself, right? It is so important. It's a life skill that we need to teach our children. And we need to teach our adults, because quite often teachers are going in the classroom and they can't regulate their own emotion. How are they going to teach it to the little ones? Behavior is a form of communication. What are they trying to communicate? We may not like the behavior, we may not understand it, but it is a communication. They're telling us something. And, understanding the brain states. So that's tip number 4, if you like. Really know the brain states. What happens when the child is in the survival brain? What happens when the adult is in the survival brain? What behaviors come up? Because if you're in the scared brain, the strategy to help that scared brain is different from when you're in the emotional brain. And so knowing what brain states in, so just to refresh people listening if they've forgotten, we have a survival brain, which is if we get scared, if we get anxious, we get insecure, we're in our survival brain. We just go to our scared brain. And there's behaviors associated with that: fight, flight, freeze, frightened, fibbing. I don't know if you guys have heard, but there's 2 more added to that list of 5 now. Have you heard of the 7 Fs now? There's not, instead of 5, there's 7 Fs now.
Yeah, they're always coming out with new stuff.
I know. So let me tell you what the 6th and 7th is. So fight, flight, freeze, frightened, fibbing. Then there's fawning and floating. So this is what children do when they get in trouble and they're scared, because this is symptoms of the scared brain. They just start saying, I like your earrings. I like your dress. They try to change the topic, trying to protect themselves. You've heard that, right? That's fawning. Yeah. And then floating happens. I was in a classroom the other day and this teacher was trying to talk to this little guy, Andrew, who had hit somebody, and he knew he was in trouble, and the teacher was trying to find out what had happened. And this is what he was doing. He was just floating. He was making no eye contact. It was not going to happen, right? So know the brain states, and then the emotional brain, which is all attention seeking. But knowing that attention seeking behavior is a relationship seeking need. It's a game changer. So when you see children acting out and you call it attention seeking, it's a great reminder that, okay, you're trying to connect with me right now. And this is the way you've learned how to connect with me. You scream, you hit, you throw furniture, and I look at you. So I have to rewire your brain so we can connect, not just when you're acting up. So that takes practice, that takes time. But knowing that attention-seeking behavior is a relationship-seeking need helps me to understand whatever this is, how do I help you? So the 5, 7 Fs have a different strategy. The emotional brain has a different strategy. And then the learning brain, the third part of the brain. The learning brain is where the reflection can happen. Because quite often I hear teachers saying, use your words, use gentle hands, use your words. When the tantrum is happening, when the behavior is happening, they have no words. Like newsflash, they have no words. Just give it to them. Just say, I need to share. I need space. I need help. Like give them the words. Don't just keep repeating, use your words, use your words. That's the conversation that happens when they're calm. You circle back and you talk to them. What happened? They always have a reason why they did whatever they did. You may not like it, you may not agree with it, but that's where the reflective conversation can happen. The next time somebody pushes you, the next time somebody hits, what can you do? The next time, the next time. And then the power of yet. You haven't mastered it yet. In this room, we're going to practice. And you need time for children to practice, right? I mean, these things don't just happen overnight. So to recap, breathing, knowing your triggers, and then help the children to know their triggers. When somebody takes your toy, how does that make you feel? The next time, what can you do? So know your triggers, let them know their triggers, understand the brain states, understand the behaviors associated with the brain states, and then having strategies that work with that brain state. So for example, one strategy for the survival brain, if the 7 Fs are showing up, one very helpful sentence is, you're safe, I'm here to help you. You're safe, I'm here to help you. You keep repeating that till the crying comes down, till the fear comes down. But what I see is when a child is acting up the 5 Fs, fight, flight, whatever's happening, the teacher is yelling, stop it, don't do that, don't run away. You're scaring the child even more. So not understanding that the child is scared is huge. So then the sentence is, you're safe, I'm here to help you. And then with the emotional brain, because you know it's for attention seeking, a very powerful sentence is, I see you, I hear you, I understand you, but I don't like what you're doing. So separating the child from the behavior, right? I mean, all of these take time and work, and normally I do these sessions for a really long time and I'm in the classroom coaching. So I don't know if it makes any sense just to give little nuggets like this.
I love it. I could have used this 2 days ago when,
Our
when we were
grandchildren.
watching our grandchildren while my other daughter was having a child. So anyway, I'm going to use it next time they come over for sure.
There you go. There you go. And I do it with my grandkids all the time. I have 3 of them. So yeah, this is the work that you do. You know, there has to be a consequence. There has to be boundaries. I have come up with an acronym that I love to use, KLFF. KLFF. Children can understand when you're being kind, loving, fair, but firm. Quite often, we don't want to put boundaries and guide rails. We just, if the child says no, we just don't know what to do with it. We just give in. But children need that. Children need consequences. And this word, this word discipline has become a bad word. I don't think it's a bad word. You can discipline without breaking a child's spirit. You can guide without hurting them. They need to learn because I don't know if you've seen this, but quite often I'm seeing that children are being given so much freedom and so much ego that they don't have any guardrails. And it's too much power for them. They don't know what to do with this power. They start running all the adults around them. Then it becomes defiance in the classroom, and pushbacks happen, and power struggles happen, and because that's the way everybody's allowing them.
And then when they become teenagers, they're out of control.
And who can, and we just talked about the importance of the early years, right? So if you're not giving them birth to 5, if this is not happening, how can we expect them to grow up and have these life skills? Like, how is it possible?
That's right. Excellent point. Can you tell us more about your Together We Grow and how it could help directors and owners that are listening today?
Yeah, so togetherwegrow.online is the website, and I'm on social media as well. There's a YouTube channel that has brain videos for 5 minutes on it. On my website has free webinars, there's resources for download, there's a checklist of children's literature for social emotional, executive function books list. And Together We Grow, really, I can do professional development online, in person, coaching online, in person. And if you're seeing behaviors, they're not just going to get better by itself. Out of control behaviors leads to staff burnout, staff turnover, disenrolled families. And I know nobody wants to disenroll families, but it becomes too much. You do better when you know better, and you just need tools, right? You just need tools. And so, yeah, if somebody needs help, reach out, and I'd be happy to see how I can support. And if I can't, I'll tell you. I'll be very honest. If I'm not your person, I'll let you know, and I'll point you in the right direction. But there's so many things that are happening in the classrooms that they can't just be ignored. It just won't just go away. It doesn't work like that.
Excellent. Well, we'll put your contact information in our show notes.
Thank you.
So each week we ask a mindset question. What do you do to unwind and relax?
I am all about resetting the mind. So my normal daily routine is meditation. I have morning meditation in the morning, and that's just silencing my brain, not thinking, not worrying, just trying to just create a space in my brain to be silent. I also believe strongly in the growth mindset. So when the mistakes are happening, talking to myself and not beating myself down, and practicing what I'm preaching. Not perfect, not trying to be perfect, but what did I learn from this? How can I bounce back from this? And allowing myself some grace that, okay, you goofed up and that wasn't your best, but you showed up and you're going forward. And so, I have also dogs, so take them out for a walk. And when I can, play with my grandkids. That's always a good, joyful reset. I think the work that we do is so important, and my heart goes out to teachers and directors who do this every single day. So I share something called the 3 E's with my teachers for self-care. Would you like me to share them here?
Please.
So doing 3 E's every day. First thing, doing something every day that energizes you, meaning it brings you joy. Whatever it is, do something every day that brings you joy. The second one is empathizing. Do you have somebody in your life that you can open up your heart with every day? Just to share from your heart, to unburden, whether it's at work, whether it's at home. Do you have somebody in your corner of the world? If not, reach out and find somebody. You'll be surprised. People would be willing at your work if you don't have anybody. And the last thing is exercise, not because of a certain body weight or size or weight. It's to get the oxygen into your lungs, to get the oxygen to your brain, and just to get your heart rate up. So 3 E's every day to maintain the stress, to manage the stress. I don't know if you can ever eliminate the stress, but at least to manage it and to reduce it, because you can't give what you don't have. And the work our field does is very demanding.
Love that. So every week we get questions from listeners all the time, and I've got one here that I saved for you. I knew you were coming on, so it's a listener question from Jennifer from New York. It says, "Dear Brian and Carol, I have a policy not to expel children with biting issues, but I've recently lost 2 families because of my policy, and my staff is frustrated. How do I keep parents and staff happy when there's a difficult child in a classroom?"
So first of all, Jennifer, that's good that you have a policy. That's a great place to start. I would go deeper with it, and I would try to understand if you can do observations in your classroom. What is happening before the incident, what's happening during the incident, and what's happening after the incident. And the reason that's important is because sometimes triggers are happening right before the child will bite. And quite often, if the strategy is given to the teacher that you should shadow the child, they're very close to the child and still the biting happens. But what I noticed was the other day I was in a classroom, in a toddler classroom, and the child was looking at the toy and the teacher didn't see it. She was looking at the toy, she looked at the teacher, she looked at the other child, and then she just bit. And the teacher said, "I was right here and I can't do any more." And I said, "But you can, because if you had noticed her, you could have called out her intent and her want. You really want that toy. You're looking at that toy. You wanted that toy." So labeling the intent and labeling the want, you wanted that. You were trying to reach for it. I think that is the space where we're missing. So if you are going to have a child who is biting, who's showing us that he or she doesn't have the language skills, doesn't have the cognitive skills to say, "I want it, I want to play, I want to share." So biting is developmental, but where the frustration comes is the teachers feel like, "I'm spending all day shadowing this child and it's still happening on my watch. I was right there. It was so quick. It just happened so fast." Slow down and just start observing. is it certain times during the day that this happens more. So you're looking for patterns. You're looking to see if there's a trigger before, and then what did you do during, and then what did you do after? Because quite often the child who bites gets into trouble and they get the whole scolding of we're not biting and don't bite and this is la 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 la. But they never get the feedback of what it is that they were trying to communicate through that. What is this about? So we don't get to the underlining. Is it a sensory need? Is it a don't have the language, don't have the cognitive? Or is it because I'm getting so much attention from this? Every time I do it, you look at me, right? So it takes a little bit of unpacking and a little bit of going deeper instead of just on the surface that is biting and I've told my teachers and the biting continues. It could also be that some children do it to just certain children. So what's that about? Is it a power thing? Is it a control thing? Is it a aggravated thing? Is the other child bothering? There's so much more to unpack here than just being on the surface. So the best thing I can say is document, look for patterns, look for anything that is similar that gives you a clue of what is causing this child to do this. And does the teacher have the tools to label the feelings, the emotion, or is the teacher triggered and she's not in her calm brain, so she's not being helpful? You know what I mean? There is so much more, but it can be done. I promise you, you can turn this around. It just takes a little bit of work to rewire the adult reactions and the child brain, but it can be done.
I love that. We get the biting thing a lot. We've had it in our instance. We actually had to kick our own son out of daycare 21 years ago because he was an avid biter. We were new into the childcare business. We really didn't know what we were doing, and since then we have figured it out. We've done a lot better with the biting, but it's still an issue with a lot, especially now. Kids are they're frustrated and they act out.
So frustrated. But any kind of behavior happens for main 6 reasons, right? It could be because attention seeking behavior. It could be for emotional needs. It could be for sensory needs. It could be for language, lack of cognitive. It could just be that I have bio needs. I'm not feeling well. I'm hungry. I'm tired. There's so many reasons why behaviors happen, and biting for children when they're little seems to be an easy one to get the frustration out. I'm frustrated, I'm triggered, but that's why I think doing breathing throughout the day would help. Also labeling the intent and the want will help, because then the child feels understood. And more than anything else, in wrapping, I would say, remember, the more you correct, the less you connect. The emphasis is back on the connection. You've got to have genuine connections with the children. You can't expect them to listen to you and just do compliance if you're not connecting.
Awesome, Prerna. So thank you so much for coming on. I know you helped a lot of people today. It's an issue we get a lot of emails on, so we know is well received out there. And again, Prerna Richards and Together We Grow. We're going to put your contact information in the show notes. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you both so much. Thank you. I appreciate this, and I wish you all the best with this platform and everybody else who's listening. You're doing good work. Keep going.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Boy, Prerna's really good at her job, isn't it?
I agree. I think that she'll help a lot of teachers and
doctors. And could have used her a couple of days ago when we had 4 grandkids here running the house for 4 or 5 days while my daughter was in the hospital having her baby. So yeah, really good tips.
Enrollment is now open for Childcare Genius University, which is launching December 1st, 2022.
I'm so excited about this. I tell you, we have been dreaming about having our own childcare coaching program. We feel the need is out there. We're doing things that nobody else is doing. So if you need childcare coaching, training, or mentorship in any area of your business, visit childcaregenius.com/university for more information.
And we're here to help you.
Yeah, we want to leave anybody behind. Our mission is to change the world one childcare center owner at a time. Now, this concludes episode 12 of the Childcare Genius podcast.
And don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you won't miss a future episode. And we'll see you again soon.
We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Childcare Genius podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please do us a favor and hit the subscribe button so you won't miss a future episode. Don't forget to visit our website at childcaregenius.com to see a list of services we offer to help your childcare business grow. Until next time, thank you for being a part of the Childcare Genius community.